What's up, guys? I'm Uncle Freedom, coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved day off. First things first, go ahead, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, because after all, that is how we defeat the algorithmic overlords that run YouTube. This is typically the part of this where I would tell you all about how you could do this, this, and this. I'll just suffice it to say that if you're looking for more information on what I do or ways in which, you could find out about some of the stuff that I do, violentalgebra.com, that is my website. No, I don't sell guns over there, YouTube, so please don't flag me for saying my own website. Crap. All I do is going to have some stuff over there. There'll be some ballistic gel stuff over there. There'll be some range day stuff over there, target packages and stuff. And you can find the companies that I like, that I work with and support over there. Biggest supporter of the channel right now, the people that help me do what I do, is Outlast Supply. If you were looking for survivalist food, knives, bushcrafting supplies, flashlights, you name it, man. Stuff that I would like, right? You can find it over there. No, they don't sell guns either at outlastsupply.com. Great people over there. I really appreciate them helping me the way they have. So what are we doing today? We're going to do volume 4 of the Terminal Effect. I warned you guys in the 10mm video that volume 4, the next rifle round, is a low-key sleeper round that precision guys know about and old school hunters do as well. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about 7mm 08. It is a classic wildcat and a true long-range sleeper round. So it was introduced by Remington in 1980, though the cartridge itself had been a wildly popular wildcat, pun intended, dating back all the way to 1958. This is a 308 class of round. It's chambered for the short action length. So when we start talking about action lengths, we have a magnum action length, so 375 Holland & Holland. We have a standard action length, think 30-06. And then we have the short action length, or 308. There's also a micro action length, and that is like 6 arc. So that's the difference. 30-06, 308 class, right? Standard length versus short action length. This is based off of the 308 diameter round, 308 diameter case. So 308 brass, boom, it's what we're based off of. Basically what we did is we necked it down to 7mm or a .284 diameter. So the 28 caliber, if you will, that's what we necked this down to. Necking things down has been around literally since we made cartridges, because guys were like, man, if I put a smaller one in there, I bet I can make it go faster. That's what people do with ballistics. It's nothing new, right? There's nothing new under the sun. There's certainly nothing new in the cartridge world. But one of the things we did with the 7mm 08 is this round took advantage, as most good wildcats do, of the established bolt faces that already existed in wide use all across the country, right? Like that 308 bolt face was that size. It was just already prolific, man. They already existed. They were everywhere. And you start dealing with something else, which the 7mm, the 28s have been around for a hot minute, right? You also now were able to take advantage of that established bolt face, an established case pattern, and a ballistically superior 7mm bullet. Now, the way they did this round is they basically crammed a ballistically superior projectile and gave it a higher velocity. In short, it's a sleeper. It is like you've probably picked up a rifle chambered in this cartridge at your local gun store or at a pawn shop and didn't think much of it if you don't know much about the round. So the reason I say that 7mm is ballistically superior, 7mm bullets are a sleeker bullet than a 7.62, right? We can say, so 7.62mm, 308 diameter bullets, and then you deal with a 7mm, so a .284 diameter bullet. We can get bullets in almost the same grain weight. So what do you think happens if I take 150 grain 308 and 150 grain 7mm, or 150 grain 284, right? The one that's smaller diameter has to be longer, thus being more ballistically efficient. Also has a higher sectional density, which, some people attribute that to better penetration, tougher bullets in the wild. So this was originally chambered in a Remington model 1788 and the Remington 700 BDL Varmint Special, right? And it's currently chambered in pretty much every single major manufacturer's bolt guns. There's a reason that it stayed around. You're going to find out why here in just a second. Also, as far as ammo goes, this ammo is literally loaded by everybody, right? Like I mean, like here's some hunting rounds, right? Like these, Norma makes it, Hornady makes it, Federal makes it, Winchester makes it. Your small boutique people make it. You know why? Because it's a very easy cartridge to make. 308 brass everywhere. We neck down 308 brass and make it take a 7mm projectile. Awesome, right? So the 28 caliber or 7mm projectiles are plentiful and proven all the way back to the 7mm, 7x57mm Mauser, right? That rifle itself was a sleeper long-range projectile, right? It's the same thing. When we start talking about 6, 6, 5, and 7, I don't know what we were doing here, but 6, 6, 5, and 7 have always been exceptionally good long-distance rounds, right? Even if we start talking about the 6.5 Swiss, so in a K31 or in a K31 straight pull action, like that stuff, the 7mm Mauser round, that stuff, like, it was always good. It's always been known that it was ballistically superior to a 30 caliber round, right? Some other stuff that they chambered this in, the 7 mag, right? The 280 Ackley, right? Another hugely successful, amazing round. And the barrel burner, known as the 28 Nosler. That's just a massive case with a crap load of powder throwing a 7mm projectile like Mach Jesus times 2. Like, it destroys barrels, right? You're going to burn it. Because anytime we have a larger case diameter and a smaller bullet, and we're putting a bunch of powder behind it, we are creating something known as overbore. And overbore destroys barrels with the extra powder burn, the more constricted space, it gets hotter, you start tearing up stuff. It just happens, right? But one of the cool things, oh, and then you have the new modern one, right? So the new modern one, which is my new toy, is the 7mm PRC. So now we're talking about basically a strike missile with better ballistics than anything that starts with a 30. And it goes a long freaking way, right? We can load everything from like 100 grain varmint loads in this. Same kind of thing we could do with a 30-06. So we can get all the way down to 100 grain varmint load territory, but we can even run to heavy for caliber 195 grain burger bullets. We can do some crazy stuff. And here's the thing, the biggest handicap that a lot of the original 7mm 08 had was twist rate. However, the most common twist rate you're going to find for a 7mm 08 is 1 in 10. 1 in 10 will easily stabilize some really heavy stuff. And then you've got copper rounds, right? I love copper rounds because they're incredibly tough. They're fantastic rounds for what they are, but we can do 110 to 150 grain for a solid copper round, right? We can do bonded, the A-frame, the soft pointed loads, and that 130 grain to 180 grain, and even some of the most ballistically efficient rounds ever freaking created to be fired in a bolt action gun in that 160 to 185 range. Like, we can do everything. We can do it in the same action length you've got now with the same bolt face, and we can do it with about the same barrel life and less recoil. Round sounds like a rock star, doesn't it? It is. It's a slept-on rock star. Like, it is a fan-freaking-tastic round all around. Me as a hunter, 7mm 08's a fantastic round. Me as a precision rifle guy, I would take 7mm 08 over 308. In fact, that I may have to do that. Like, take a 110 tack and have it rebarreled. God, that'd be good. So when we start talking about the modern twist rates that we see in these things, so 1 in 9 faster, right? 1 in 9 twist and faster. 1 in 9 twist is going to stabilize a 185 grain projectile, depending on your barrel length. But you're easily going to be able to stabilize that 150, 170 class. It's, like I said, lower recoil, capable of taking large game, elk, moose, capable of taking coyotes with the 100, 110 grain varieties. And like I said, it's one of the best paper killing, steel hitting rounds that there is. It's just good. So for those of you that think 6.5 is the king, 6.5 may have ballistically better bullets just because of the slightly decreased frontal diameter and the longer, sleeker projectiles and much faster twist. There's nobody that said we can't get faster twist in what we're doing here. But how efficient is it? Now, keep in mind, so when we start talking about these bullets, right, like 7mm shouldn't surprise anybody. With the advent bringing stuff back like, you know, the new 7 PRC, right? It's a thing. The same thing with 6.8, right? 6.8 is a 27. .277 caliber. Army's new round, 6.8 by 51. The 6.8 Western. Fast twist, hyper long projectiles. Yeah. Dude, if we did that to the 7mm, holy crap. That would just be insane. But how efficient is the 7mm in compared to, say, something like a 308, right? We all know 308 is the standard. I don't know why, but I'll tell you this, like 308 is extremely consistent. And I will tell you that 308 is what I recommend to people if you actually want to learn to shoot long distance and have to shoot wind. If you can shoot wind on 308, you can really clean up shop with some of the better ballistically efficient bullets, right? But how good can it really be? But my 308, it'll do all this. And yeah. So let's look at the numbers. And remember, this is not even a contest when it comes to bucking the wind. The 7mm projectile has a better wind flight characteristic than the 308 does. End of discussion, right? And we got to get into some crazy long 308 bullets for that to matter. We don't have to get into crazy long 7mm bullets to do that. We're going to do it with less powder and a better bullet with less recoil from the same size of gun. Now, I will say it is not as good as 6.5 at bucking the wind, but it will absolutely eat the 308's lunch all day. So I'm not even going to talk about wind drift characteristics, but let's look at real numbers. These are real numbers. I ran these ballistically to figure all this stuff out so I can hand it to you today. So what we're going to compare here is we're going to compare the 168 grain open tip match, which is a bullet for the 7mm 08. And then we're going to compare that to the venerable 175 grain Sierra Match King, open tip match, boat to hollow point, whatever, right? So when we start talking about these two things, so we're going to look at 2,680 feet per second on the 7mm 08 side, and we're going to look at 2,600 feet per second on the 308 side. .300 yards, pretty good standard, right? 300 yards, right? So 300 yards shooting 175 grain Sierra Match King in a 308, we are looking at 4.42 MOA or 1.29 mils of elevation that we need to do on there. We're also going to be doing 2,345 feet per second, generating 2,137 foot-pounds of energy. Pretty good, right? Now let's same 300 yards with that 168 grain open tip match out of the 7mm 08. We're going to come up 4.09 MOA, so we're already beating it on drop, or 1.19 mils. We're going to be traveling at 2,428 feet per second, generating 2,199 foot-pounds of energy. That's right. At 300 yards, the 7mm 08 has already surpassed the 308. It's already happened. We're only at 300 yards. Let's go to 5. So with that 175 grain Match King, we're looking at 10.15 MOA, and that's being very generous, right? Typically, 500 yards is 12 minutes on a 308 with 175 grain Match King. I'm being generous on barrel length to get you this. So that's going to be 10.15 MOA, 2.95 mils, with a muzzle with a velocity of 2,182 feet per second, generating 1,851 foot-pounds of energy. Now, back over to that 7mm 08. How about 9.42 MOA on the come up and 2.74 mils? Still traveling at 2,267 feet per second at 1,918 foot-pounds of energy. They're pretty close, but it's still winning. Now let's back it to 7, right? 7's on the fringe. 16.6 MOA is what we're going to come up on that 308. 4.83 mils. Doing 2,026 feet per second and 1,596 foot-pounds of energy. Now we get over here and look at the 7 on this one. This is where it starts to change. 15.41 MOA or 4.48 mils. We're looking at 2,112 feet per second at 1,664 foot-pounds of energy. We are 70 foot-pounds of energy higher shooting a 7mm 08 at 7. Now what about a grand? Shooting to 1,000 yards is well within anybody's capability. If you've got a 308, you've thought about it. If you've got a 7mm 08, you should go try it. So we're talking about 27.68 MOA, right? That's going to be the hold or the dial for 1,000 yards with a 175 grain Match King that started out doing 2,600 feet per second, or 8.05 mils of elevation. 1,803 feet per second at 1,264 foot-pounds of energy. So technically, by the 1,000 foot-pound rule, we could still ethically harvest a deer, though I wouldn't recommend it with a 308 at 1,000 yards. With the 7mm 08, 25.63 MOA or 7.46 mils would be your come up on that. 1,891 feet per second at 1,334 foot-pounds of energy. It's still ahead. So for those of you that were like, man, mils and MOA, talk about some inches. Freedom, tell me about them inches. All right, let's do the inch game, right? Same 2 rounds, I'll just give you the actual inch measurement. So I am going to come up 12.86 inches with a 7mm 08 or 13.9 inches with a 308 at 300 yards. At 500, 49.35 inches of drop versus 53.16 inches of drop in the 308. At 700, 112.96 inches versus 121.69 inches in the 308. Or at 1,000, 268.45 inches for the 7mm 08, or 289.85 inches for the 308. Yes, I know the numbers are close, but when I start telling you things like, hey, by the way, that bucks the wind better. Oh, by the way, it's got better sectional density for taking critters. By the way, it's got less recoil in the same gun. So we're going to do all that. More energy, less drop, less wind, less felt recoil in the same rifle and really long, like 8,000 to 10,000 round barrel life. With ammo that is commercially available from every company. Bullets that are readily available for hand loaders with brass that you can neck down and do this yourself with. The only place a 308 beats a 7mm 08 is in actual barrel life. Like there are 308 rounds out there that are running 15 and 20 and 30,000 rounds, right? You are going to win the barrel life battle with a 308 over a 7mm 8, but that is the only place that you are winning that battle with a 308. Everywhere else, 7mm 08, even though it can be marginal for victory, it's still a freaking victory. It's going to beat that gun every single time. And if we add into the fact that, yeah, but the distances weren't that much different on drop. Yeah, but we're talking like, I don't know, like a half of the wind deflection, a half. You can even get barrels for this cartridge for your AR-10s. How freaking cool is that? Maybe you've got a SAS, right? Like you've got the SAS we have at home, right? The PSA SAS we got at home, right? You replace your barrel out with a 7mm 08, you can use the same freaking bolts, same freaking magazines. And you have a ballistically superior round in every single way. Except, 7 grains of weight. So, I mean, I think I might do one of these. That I might have to do a SAS build in the 7mm 8 because it's just too good. So, in conclusion, like, don't hate the 308. The 308 is the reason we have a lot of the cool stuff we have. But truthfully, 308 is the best round you're ever going to get if we're going to talk about shooting and learning to shoot precision rifle. But I wouldn't sleep on a 7mm 08, man. That 7mm bullet is some kind of magic. This is one of those instances where the guys got the round and were like, you know what? I can neck this down just a little bit, put a much sleeker 7mm bullet in there, twist up this barrel just a little faster, and I'm going to smoke a 308, and they did. It is one of the most slept on hunting and precision rifle cartridges out there. Here's the thing. I would tell you that 7 mag has been slept on, but dude, guys that shoot precision rifle have known about 7 mag forever. That is a real thing you will see, man. Guys shoot 7 mag for precision rifle. You know why? Because it's good. The bullet's heavy enough, it doesn't catch some of the problems. It bucks the wind like a champ. It carries a velocity like a champ. It carries more energy. Like, I mean, is it going to beat a 6.5 Creedmoor? No, it's not. But I would argue, like, you can get some of this stuff for cheaper than you can get in the 6.5 world, right? Because the 7mm match game is kind of new, right? Like, it's not, purpose built For match, we've got like the 7 PRC, right? People were using the 7 mag for match. And dude, I'll tell you right now, the first time you go shoot a 7mm 08 against your 308, that is a game changer. You can still suppress it. You can still put a brake on it. You can do all the same stuff you did with your 308, but you can do it with less recoil, better ballistic efficiency, better wind characteristics, more energy on target, and less drop on the way there. It's a show-stopping winner, man. 7mm 08, don't sleep on it. It's a fantastic cartridge and probably one of my favorite, like, slept-on bolt gun rounds. 7mm 08 is a true champion in almost every realm you can put it into. Check out some of the stuff. If you're into hand loading, just look at some of the rounds that you could stick into a 708. It's a great time. So guys, I am Uncle Freedom. Hopefully you found this informative. So take care of yourself, take care of each other, and until next time, I'll see you later.